Those who have followed this channel will already be familiar with one of the primary causes of division among African people in ancient times. We have spoken at length about why ancient African societies quarreled, fractured, and at times destroyed themselves from within. One of the most significant causes was the practice of polygamy, particularly among prominent figures of the time. In ancient African societies, it was common for kings and nobles to practice polygamy, a system in which a man took more than one wife. This practice was widely viewed as a strategic tool to multiply the population. A growing nation was considered a strong nation, capable of defending itself and subduing others. Some kings took 10 or more wives, and in many cases, these wives were from other nations. Such marriages were also political tools, intended to forge alliances and strengthen kingdoms through kinship.
Nyambose, mtetwa, kubazea, ndota ya matota, au kule umuzi, ganjalo nesizwe.
On the surface, polygamy appeared advantageous. It expanded populations and created diplomatic ties. However, we cannot shy away from its destructive consequences, particularly the deep divisions it created within royal households. Among many African nations, custom dictated that the heir to leadership came from the first wife, known as the Great House, Unjunkulu. If the first wife did not bear a male child, the right of succession did not pass to the second wife's son, but to the third house. If the third wife bore no son, succession would move to the fifth house, not the fourth. This rigid structure often ignored age, merit, or capability. As a result, many households were torn apart by internal conflict. In numerous cases, a son born to the second wife, though older and more experienced, was denied leadership, while a much younger son from the third house inherited power simply because custom favored him.
Webafo, ngeke phela isizwe esibuswe nguwe umnane kunathi. Bungamane buthitheke bugayiwe.
Understandably, this bred resentment. These disputes frequently escalated into open conflict between brothers, sons of the same father, fighting over leadership. In many instances, the aggrieved sons would break away from the kingdom, forming their own independent polities. Tragically, these new kingdoms often became rivals or even enemies of their father's kingdom. The ultimate outcome was the weakening of once powerful nations. External enemies took advantage of these divisions, sometimes allying with the breakaway sons to overthrow the original kingdom. Ironically, it was rarely the sons who prospered in the end, but rather the external forces that exploited the internal strife. As the old wisdom teaches us, a kingdom divided cannot flourish. This pattern did not affect kingdoms alone. We see the same divisions reflected in surnames, clans, and tribes across Africa today. When one studies lineage closely, it becomes clear that many modern tribes share common ancestry. Yet due to internal conflicts, often rooted in polygamy and succession disputes, they became independent, hostile, and estranged. This is why, even today, some tribes reject one another, denying shared origins. Polygamy, however, is not the only force that has divided African people. In our present time, an even more dangerous pattern has emerged: money. Money has become the leading cause of division among African communities. Unlike polygamy, which fragmented societies into rival tribes and kingdoms, money fragments people into isolated individuals. This form of division is far more dangerous because individuals are easier to weaken, control, and subdue than united communities. Money has driven people away from their families and loved ones. It has fractured households and severed brotherhood. One must ask, what is the value of wealth if it costs us our humanity? In the pursuit of money, people have committed unspeakable acts. Brother has turned against brother, wife against husband, son against father, all in the name of wealth. And yet, what is money? Money is nothing more than paper, created, assigned value, and used as a tool to extract what is truly valuable from human beings: relationships, unity, dignity, and a natural way of life. In modern times, survival itself has been tied to money. Without it, one cannot eat, one cannot shelter, and one is often deemed unworthy of respect or companionship. Many people refuse to associate with those who lack wealth. The world has become a relentless dog-eat-dog arena. Yet those who truly understand that money is merely a tool, and not life itself, are the ones who are quietly flourishing. They exchange money for what society has abandoned: family, brotherhood, self-sufficiency, and health. These were the foundations upon which our forefathers thrived. They produced their own food, lived communally, and maintained strong social bonds. As a result, they lived healthier and more balanced lives. Today, instead of standing together, we fight one another. And when an external enemy arises, we are easily defeated because we are not united. Worse still, we often assist that enemy indirectly through our own divisions. Now is the time to wake up. If we do not, we will perish. Individualism has never sustained a people. No civilization has survived by abandoning unity. History has already taught us this lesson at great cost. The question is whether we are willing to listen. Yimilo, uje benkomo, umlochwa, ushange, usobuiswayo gamakete jiane.